Let's look at the comments and see what has been going on, how you guys responded. I absolutely always love talking in the comments. So in the meantime, let's go take a quick look at what you guys had to say on some of our past episodes from our episode from last week. All right. So, okay. So, first and foremost, let's talk on our one of our first. This came in from just a little over a week ago. This was right off of our episode. And this one was talking about World Rugby and USA Rugby making a new professional team. So this is Douglas Yon's YG3LV. And he said $7 to $10 million will do nothing at the grassroots level. It will be gone in a nanosecond. Funding up-and-coming players that will be coached full-time and play on a regular basis has been a huge black hole. This addresses that to a degree. So I understand where he's coming from with that in terms of wanting to accelerate the development of rugby players who have the chance of playing at a high level here in the country. That being said, I think the problem has been is that you only have such a limited subset of that. And the way to be able to solve that is building grassroots. I agree in the fact that if you're taking $7 to $10 million and trying to distribute it out to all the leagues and to all the leagues and to all the unions or individual teams, of course it's not going to do anything. But the job that USA Rugby and World Rugby can do is create messaging. It's just like we did with this documentary series. That's messaging. Does it directly help every union, every youth league, every collegiate team, every academy team that's going across board? Absolutely not. But it is a big picture that allows people to get messaging in a different way where they can be subsequently directed to those programs that are within their region. And that money can be helped to create more messaging that makes it easier for them and hence builds up your grassroots and build up the access of talent that you need, the access of awareness that can also provide more money in the back end from sponsorships or from supporters or from donors who now have a better idea of connecting with the sport versus you just going to them blind or going to them cold, as they call it, and trying to explain how this is something that's developing or growing or and talking about numbers that don't necessarily mean anything to that individual person and hence pass over the support that they could be using for developing. So for me, that's kind of a big deal. I feel like it could be used, but I do get your point. So thank you for commenting. AEIX2IZ said, speaking on the rugby players funnels to the NFL, talked about me. That was the name of our episode. He said, glad to hear you're back on the pitch. I'm a few months away from being there myself. By the way, I'm not looking forward to my first Bronco in 10 years. Yo, bro, I 100% am rooting for you to absolutely kill it. Thank you so much for the compliments of trying to being on the field. I'm really, really happy to be back. Can't wait to get into my first game in whatever format, but absolutely elated about being able to, be a part of rugby from a direct standpoint again. So here's to us absolutely killing it. Good luck on your Bronco. The Broncos still suck always and forever. Always and forever. And I'm never going to quit that, but we got to get it, right? All right, my guy Rit the Rugger 160 said, "Forever Strong," helping me correct. I think on the episode I called it Forever Rugby. I meant Forever Strong, so much appreciated to that. He said, "Something I'll never get over about the movie. The star plays for a different team than Highland. He plays wing. He has discipline issues and gets sent to juvie. Anyway, the facility allows him to play for Highland. He goes through preseason all the way to the first game. He arrives on game day expecting to play wing and finds out he's starting. No surprise. This is where I have an issue. He started at hooker. What the F? Impossible. Today, it's even illegal. No coach would start someone at hooker without a good bit of prep time, learning the signals, plays, and skills necessary. I spent a few decades in Denver. Our high school clubs would occasionally play Highland. I knew their coach, great guy, stayed at his place once when I was sent there to ref. That is a situation that he would never put a player into. The story itself is okay, but that lie bugged the hell out of me for the rest of the movie. Honestly, I'm with you on it. I'm with you on that. Like, it actually was a wild concept. I know in the movie, if you guys haven't gotten a chance to check it, Forever Strong, it's not the greatest movie, but it's a solid American rugby story. And especially in the early days when there's not a lot of rugby, early days, it's still consistent now. There's not a whole bunch of rugby stories. I think that was one that was well, it's good to be able to go check out. Like, you can enjoy it anyway. It's great for the family. But yeah, I did think that was one. And the character gets put into hooker so that he can learn to be a more connected player. But you're right. Like, there's so many aspects of being a hooker that's more than just trying to grip the ball in the scrum and just be there in the rucks and, of course, throw-ins. Like, you really have to know what it is you're doing because you're directing in these aspect times. But I think for the story for Forever Strong, you needed to have a reason for him to connect with the players and to break him down a little bit. So, sometimes you got to be a little bit exaggerating when it comes to your stories. Part of the game. Brianni Yada 9498 said a dongle replaces the water buffaloes. This was in regards to the World Rugby Challenger Series Dubai results, and this was talking about Kenya Rugby. I spoke about the fact that Kenya Rugby lost a whole lot of senior leadership and senior management, senior leadership in terms of their rugby team, but one of their players, Adongu, who is an absolute monster on the field, actually came to replace him hard. So he's been actually showing, and you see it as Kenya has making it back, trying to get themselves back into HSBC 7 series and made their way back into the Olympic Sevens series, beating South Africa in the Africa Cup Sevens Olympic qualifiers. Kenya is a team to watch again, and could absolutely do damage or absolutely be, mid. But I think this is a younger squad that knows kind of what they're looking for, and they have a mission now. Neil 392 gave a great explanation. This was in regards to the British and Irish Lions announcing the women's tour in 2027. The Lions isn't about teaming up to be able to beat the Southern Hemisphere teams. It's very much a celebration of rugby, and it carries a lot of historical importance. Not least the size of the traveling support. Fans will travel to the men's next tour in their tens of thousands. The last time they played in Australia, there were more red in the crowd than gold. Because the support demographic for the women is different, I can't see that happening. Fans will travel, but not in significant numbers. For that reason alone, I would have picked France as a first tour destination. The organizer said that they wanted to create their own history and tradition, and that would have set the marker. You could also play fixtures against Italy and Spain as a part of the tour, but they've picked New Zealand, so we'll have to just have to save up. Getting the composition of the tour party will also be a challenge. If you were selecting a tour party of 35 today, 25 plus would be English. So over the next couple years, we need to see a number of non-English players putting their hands up for selection. Having said all that, I think the tour is important. The Barbarians recognize the importance of having a women's team, and I'm pleased that the Lions have followed suit. Interestingly, back in 1980s, pre the first Women's World Cup, Great Britain played as a single team for a few years and provided a connection piece, a link to Great Britain women's rugby team on Wikipedia. So I agree. I do think the British Irish Lions tour is one that I truly just have not felt is the most significant thing to do in rugby today. It doesn't feel like it has the gusto that it had before. And for me, I really did think it was, well, and from what I've been told was, a bunch of the Northern Hemisphere teams just were not able to compete with New Zealand, and they would go down. It would be a celebration of rugby. It would be the combination of Wales, England, Ireland, and Scotland coming together to be able to play together, especially with countries that have so much contentious history behind them, particularly with England. And so you'd have this brotherhood of players coming together, taking 6 months to take a boat down to the South Pacific to be able to play these teams that, normally beat them on a regular basis individually. But you also do speak to it. Like, it's a celebration of rugby. It is a major thing within European rugby helms, especially within the island of Great Britain. And no matter who I talk to that's European or has been associated with it from Australia or New Zealand, they speak incredibly highly of it. From the women's side, I think it's good that they need to have their tradition. Does it help rugby overall? Hard to say because, again, we see great England play against New Zealand. And to what Neil 392 says, if you have a prominently English team, I don't think it's going to really make a difference in terms of what you are looking for in an outcome. That being said, I do disagree on the fact that I think that Wales and Ireland and Scotland in particularly have a lot of players that would be available and that would be very qualified to play. And I think it could really be more of maybe 20 English, or maybe 20 is a lot, 15 English players, with the other 20 being from Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. And there's plenty to go. I've said, like, Jasmine Joyce, I think, would be phenomenal in this. Lucy Mulhall would be phenomenal in this, representing for Ireland, and Jasmine Joyce for Wales. So I think there's something to be able to be said that you have this and you can be able to see the combination. Again, I don't think it's the most exciting outcome, but again, it's New Zealand. New Zealand is, the Black Ferns are always a good competition. Obviously, they have the number on England, and in terms of the Rugby World Cup, and they are always going to be a great competition out of that. All right. I'm going to go one more comment and then make my way out. In regards to Lewis Rees-Zammit going to the NFL through the International Player Participation Portal. Griff MJ goes, "It's just a money move. Sadly, he has let down his club and his country. If he does not make it in the U.S., his return will not be as financially beneficial for him. Good luck to him, but he could have been a Welsh legend." And, to him, to Griff, I get where he's coming from. I think there's nothing wrong with wanting to be able to go get paid. Again, you're a professional player. Your job is to get paid to play your sport, irrespective of whatever that sport is. And he's also young. He's 22 years old. So he's got a lot to be able to, a lot of time to be able to make up. Like, his peak in rugby isn't really going to hit until 26. Let's be honest. Right now, he's a speedster off the edge with the potential of being a controlled speedster and making up for the loss of like a Gareth Rees or something like that. That being said, I don't think he's going to make it in the NFL. Again, speedsters are a dime a dozen. I know I read somewhere his dad used to play for the European, one of the European NFL Europe teams back in the day. And from the documentary, he seems like he has a very caring family. Like, they're really down to support him, but he's a speedster. Running routes is very different than catch and run. He's not even going to be close to the fastest player on the field, and he's also going to be one of the least experienced. And even from a tackling standpoint, he's been from what I've seen. So, what can he do? Can he make it on special teams? Is he going to make a practice squad? I don't know. But I think having a lot of doubters probably might feed him. They say he's incredibly competitive. So I think it's good. But again, I don't think he is going to be in lieu of being a Welsh legend. I think he can still very much come back to it and do it. And if he makes it in the NFL, I think he still stands to be a Welsh legend because he shows that there's more opportunity to be able to compete in other sports rather than feel like you're in a fledgling situation, even if it's working for your country or for your pro team. So, give him the chance. I love what he's got going on. And then lastly, Jason Bray, Ultra Sports, my guy, talked about our interview with Lance Kavanaugh that you guys can check over. It was the last episode we just did. Great episode with him. He does the media platform Great American Rugby. Man is telling stories about the people from the grassroots level, and I think it's fantastic. It's a long interview, but it's really in depth, really follows his story. But he caught what would be our RSS podcast feed. He goes, great interview, but why can't we see your handsome faces? At the time, I hadn't been able to get the video up, but the video is up if you want to get a chance to watch it, or you can listen in the 2 parts that I placed under audio on all the podcast streaming networks. So options for days that you guys are able to use for this.